Welcome to Overwatch, and welcome to something slightly different. This is going to be a discussion video because my mate Sty, I love Sty. Sty's great, he makes a lot of Overwatch content. He goes and runs Unit Lost. Go look at Unit Lost. Go watch the video, the Overwatch closed beta advantage, because this is a direct reply to that video to just help fuel that discussion, because this is a discussion I love having. It's one that I've seen people have time and time again, and I've seen people have it across every level of the game. And very wisely, Sty immediately answers the question with the right answer, which is yes. Closed beta players have an advantage. There's no way around it. Overwatch is a team-based game. There's a huge amount of knowledge that goes into playing Overwatch and understanding all the different heroes, how they interact, how it all fits together, how to play the maps, how to do various things in the game. A new player will always struggle against a more experienced one. He then very wisely goes on to the real question, which is, does it matter? And the answer, I completely agree with his point. Not really. So, the closed beta is now infamous for being too small. Like, people hated the fact that there's so few people in the beta, right? They absolutely loathed the fact, but there's a blessing in disguise there, where on release, the overwhelming majority, we're talking like 95 to 99% of players, will have never played beyond the 2 stress test weekends. Most of the players in the player pool, will be very, very new. And so, sure, the closed beta players will have an advantage, but most people, the overwhelming majority, will be on even footing. And that's why I don't have too much of a problem with the beta being as small as it is. It did run for a very long time. I would have liked to have seen it open up more as time went by, just to sort of really get the kinks out of the matchmaking system, get more data on the ranked system, for example. I'm still not the happiest with the current ranked competitive mode. I'm curious to see if there's going to be any changes going to that for open beta and release. But the real question comes from, is there a problem with the closed beta? And the answer I like to give is no, not really, just because most people will be starting from even footing. But then he goes on to an interesting topic, and one that I really want to speak to, because I've talked to a lot of pro players, I hang around with a lot of them, and I know their thoughts on this kind of thing. And it's the question of, is it fair in an esports context for players to be on teams? You have teams already signing contracts, Envious has signed a contract, Cloud9, Team Liquid has, all these big esports teams, Luminosity, just have picked up players already from the beta. We've had tournaments in the beta with $5,000 prize pools, we've had $3,000 prize pool, we have weekly tournaments with regularly that gets about $500 to $600 prize pools. And people are competing already. And so you see people say, like, how is this fair? And it is fair in a way, in a very small way, and let me explain why before, you angrily type a comment saying it's not fair. So the overwhelming majority of these pro players have had a background in other games. They have been top tier TF2 players, they've been top tier Dirty Bomb players, Battlefield players, Shoot Mania, Quake, Tribes, CSGO, a few of them have been floating around in. These are players coming from a broad tapestry of games, and they have done their grind. And this is sort of like, I'm going to speak for them here and say what they say, and I kind of agree with this, and I've seen this as a YouTuber as well, and I'll speak to that a bit later. People say, well, where's the tryouts? Well, there are no tryouts anymore. That's not how it works. You don't go to a tryout and test out. No, you play on the ladder a shitload and you get noticed, and then people start saying, hey, you want to join us for an in-house? And then you start playing in those, and then you get picked up, and that's kind of how it builds and works. You start making contacts and networking and stuff, but every single one of the pros started as a nobody, and they did their grind in their game. Now, if you want to get picked up in Overwatch, you've got to you're starting out, and this is the first game you want to play pro, you've got to start from the bottom. Like, that's how it works, and that's how it's worked for every single pro ever. And a couple of them have got no background, no real major background in previous games. The biggest example, of course, is Mendo Kusai, who's seen as a new talent on the scene, who only got noticed in Overwatch. But he's like the one exception compared to all these other players who have some kind of background. I mean, you've got people like Tassini, who has 3,000 hours as Sniper in TF2 and played as Sniper on a top competitive level. Taimu, top competitive level. You have people from Tribes, Quake. I mean, the entire team Quake Fortress, for example, has some legends from Quake. These people have all got this massive background, hours and hours and hours spent proving themselves in other games. And that's where their advantage comes from, and that's why they got brought in, that's why they were chosen. They have something to show, and that's why they're picked up for these teams. And I think that's the important thing that people miss, is these people weren't selected randomly. The overwhelming majority of them were picked because they have something to show. if you have something to show, then you are on a lot stronger footing for getting started in esports. If you have a background where you competed and you've taken, high titles in TF2 tournaments or Quake or Shootmania or Dirty Bomb, Battlefield, doesn't matter what the game is, as long as you can show that you've done something, people are going to take you a lot more seriously. If you haven't and you want to be involved in esports, you have a lot to prove, an awful lot to prove, and it's a very hard road, and hats off to you, best of luck. But this is something that I saw a lot, and I can reflect on this in an odd way with an analogy or an analogous, I think is the term, point of view with YouTube. Because when I got started with my YouTube channel, I expected nothing. I just started making videos about Overwatch characters, breaking them down, explaining them in a way that no one else kind of was. And it started picking up and picking up and picking up, and never once did I feel entitled to beta access. And I had people complaining at me and around me that saying, man, it's so unfair, there's people like one amongst many getting into the beta, and they'll have a chance to make content about Overwatch, and I won't have that chance. And it feels really disingenuous because I put a lot of time and effort into making things before getting into Overwatch beta that demonstrated that I can do that, and then that's why I got my invite. And it's kind of the same in the pro scene. These people develop their talent and their skill base and their brand, I guess, their individual brand or their individual, skill stock, their CV of esports skill in other games, and then carry that forward. If you're starting from scratch, it's just like any other job in the world. You have a lot to prove, and you're going up against some really stiff competition. It's not impenetrable, and it's not impossible. If you are talented enough, you will be noticed, but you got to have a hell of a lot of talent. Be ready to network, be polite to everyone, and be ready to talk, and be ready to try and understand the game. Go in with as little ego as possible because you are a small fish in a expanding pond, and just be modest but be skilled, and just focus on your play, because these guys are playing and playing and playing and playing. Get noticed, start playing at the highest levels, talk to people, be friendly with people, and you'll be surprised how many doors start opening up. And it's just a weird diversion, but I think that, Stai's video talked a lot about this esports side of things, so I wanted to just bring my insight to the discussion, sort of bring this side point, this tangent to everything in the form of a nice video, a nice small video that I can make fairly quickly and then put up there with some gameplay footage behind it for you guys to enjoy while I work on other bigger projects during the downtime. And I think just to wrap up in conclusion, yeah, it's unfair, but it's unfair in a way that is fair, if that makes sense. Like, these guys have more experience and more time in the game, they will be better than you. That's just, there's no avoiding that. But they earned that through previous demonstration. They had something to show and got brought in as a result. And that's why I don't feel too bad when I see teams getting picked up, because these guys have CVs behind them. They have experience in other games, and they have demonstrated skill and talent elsewhere. And if you want to make Overwatch your game, go for it, but be ready for the climb, because it's going to be difficult. And if you just want to have fun with the game, then you're going to be surrounded by millions, well, maybe not millions, that's thousands and thousands and thousands at least, of people who are in exactly the same boat, and you should get matched accordingly. And you will learn very quickly how to play the game. It'll only take a month or two, and you should be truggling along pretty fine against people who are playing in closed beta. Especially with my help. Toodles.